You're listening to Mammal Watching with Charles Foley and John Hall. You can find other episodes at mammalwatching.com/podcast.
Welcome to the Mammal Watching podcast with me, John Hall in New York City.
And me, Charles Foley in Minneapolis. How are you, John?
Charles, I think I've finally beginning to remember what good food tastes like, and some of those meals from Papua are fading into the background. I've been eating like a big pig for the last 3 weeks as an antidote to all those traumas we suffered. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Not bad. I have been steering well clear from anything remotely resembling a ramen noodle. So that's
or an aubergine.
Or an aubergine, indeed soy sauce. That's anyway. Yes, no, otherwise I am doing well, thank you. And an interesting document came past my desk the other day. It was the newsletter from the Antelope Specialist Group, and it was interesting because they were talking about how they have been monitoring the population of addax in Niger, and this is a wild population. It hasn't been reintroduced and really rare. They think there are only about 30 to 50 individuals over there, and there is a French NGO that has a management contract for the area, and one of their problems is that monitoring these animals is really difficult. So if you do it by air, it's incredibly expensive. And doing it by vehicle is really hard. So they hit on a novel solution, which was to use local community members counting the animals from the camelback. And they train them up using Smart, which is an app that many NGOs use for monitoring wildlife. And they send them out for a month at a time. But the interesting thing is that this area, because it's so dry and so isolated, they need to actually provide food and water. So they have have staging posts where they drop food, and apparently they have to provide 1.5 tons of food and 13,000 liters of water in the desert, so the animals and the people can survive for 30 days. But it's great because they've been able to cover really large areas of land and recorded several sightings of addax. And what is great about it is that it really blends the expertise of the local population with a solid monitoring system, and it really helps involve local communities with the conservation of the animals. So I just found it a really interesting story.
Yeah, that's a lovely story. That's fantastic. Isn't it great that with all the technology we think we have these days, that still the best ways to cross the desert is going to be a camel, the most practical way.
Right.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for anyone who can ride a camel and stay on it, having tried a couple of times hopelessly. It's not easy.
Yes, I have a number of camel stories, but none of them elicit particularly good memories, to be honest.
Actually, one of my first housemates in London was this a Venezuelan woman. She'd taken a holiday in Rajasthan, and she went on one of those camel safaris for 2 days, and she actually managed to fall asleep on the camel, which didn't end well because she fell off and lost both her front teeth. So they are surprisingly dangerous in mysterious ways. But yeah.
Yes.
All right. So before we talk about West Papua, I have a reunification with Carlos online. I just wanted to give a plug to another podcast that you and I were interviewed on. Was it about a month ago now? Or was it just before we went to Papua, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's called Naturally Adventurous. It's with Charlie Hess. So if you haven't had enough of listening to me and Charles and you want some more, then you might want to seek help. But if not, then we'll put a link to that podcast into the notes. And we are obviously talking about mammal watching. So Charles and I are very happy to be reunited today with Carlos Bocos. He was our guide in West Papua and really the inspiration for the whole trip. Carlos, it's great to see you again. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's good to be talking with you again. Yeah,
it's good to have you again, Carlos. If you could start by summarizing for us how you got interested in mammal watching in West Papua, because you are primarily a bird guide, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. And seeing mammals in West Papua is not easy. but when you spend time enough in the field, you bump into some of them when you are looking for night birds. And after few tours there, you start to wander around at night a little bit because you've seen all the birds. So you start to ask yourself, I don't know, what I'm gonna find if I walk this path in the middle of the night. The thing is, it's not impossible. Yeah, it's not impossible seeing mammals in West Papua. Yeah, it takes time. It's mostly nocturnal activity. So you have to find the strength to go out at night after a very long day in the field looking for birds. And the thing is that I kept finding different species of mammals in these short walks after the birding day, and I got more and more excited because the new species kept coming, yeah, and that's something quite special, yeah, especially when you see stuff like these couscouses or ringtails or things that we've seen together. Very special animals, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me too. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that until you started writing and posting pictures in 2019, I think it was, I and I think just about everyone I know had just written Papua off as a mammal watching place. I mean, there's obviously some great stuff there, but everyone said, and everyone is mainly birders, it's too hard to see. You don't see anything. There's no mammals to see. They've all been eaten. They're hiding. You can't find them. And then you started sending me these tantalizing pictures every few weeks of yet another species I'd never even heard of. And that's really when everything started to change for me.
John, you started talking about West Papua probably about 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and
right.
and then when you started putting the trip together and you were talking about this potential long list of, I think it was about 70 mammal species that we might see, I have to admit, I was really, really skeptical because, as you say, pretty much every person I had spoken to said exactly the same thing, that viewing animals on the Papuan Peninsula was extremely difficult. And that included researchers or people who had lived over there for many, many years.
Well, that's because of Carlos. I trusted him. He's sending me so many pictures, and I began to to realize that maybe this, the rumors weren't true. Did this all start when you got a thermal scope, Carlos? Was that one of the things that really pushed the mammal watching, or were you doing this long before and finding good stuff?
I think so. The thermoscope was a game changer because before it, we used to walk around at night and find few things, mostly bigger stuff like couscouses and ringtails. But when I got my thermoscope, I started to find other things like rodents or night roosting bats, and they were just there for me. Yeah, I was looking at them at length, taking photos, realizing about the small differences of all of them. So yeah, this was a truly game changer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that they were our primary way of finding animals, weren't they?
Yeah.
And so, I guess to put it into the sort of chronological order, we started off in the Arfak Mountains on the Volgokop Peninsula, and there we went to the village of Mupi Gunung. This was a place where, Carlos, you have visited before, and there were some reports from birders who had seen tree kangaroos up there, Volgokop's tree kangaroo, but it's quite a climb to get there, isn't it?
Gosh, it is, yeah. It is.
It was, it was basically, it took us 8.5 hours of pretty hard climbing. And we sort of knew about it, didn't we, John? I mean, we'd sort of heard other birders talk about it as being, what was the word they used? Remarkably strenuous.
Remarkably strenuous, which is an understatement in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd sort of figured, okay, well, maybe they were just, a bit decrepit and, a bit unfit or something like that. But I suspect they were actually probably way fitter than we were, because it was a hell of a thing up the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a climb. I mean, it obviously was worth it, but it just went on and on, and it got steeper and slipperier and steeper. And I was just using my arms to pull myself up, the last stretch from that really steep with handrails, and then there's trees you want to grab onto, but most of them are covered in thorns, and so that often goes wrong. So yeah, it was. I'm not in a hurry to walk up there again, put it like that. But I'm very glad we did it. I'm glad we did it first. That would have been awful to have done at the end. We're so tired. At least we were fresh.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, why would anyone sort of come up over here, and there must be nothing there. And then we get to the top, and then there's like 3 buildings and a whacking great church, right? So that was
probably to bury all the tourists that die on the climb up.
Perhaps so. But right away, so the villagers had organized all of the event for us, and there were probably about 30 people over there, and there were hunters, and there were some guides, and there were ladies to cook, and there were children and dogs, and the whole 9 yards. And the very first night we went out, we only went out for 2 hours because we were pretty tired, and we just started seeing amazing things right from word go, didn't we?
Yeah, there was a mammal every 5-10 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Carlos, I remember you saying that, I mean, you've been up there before and you've obviously worked with these guys a lot, but you were saying they were particularly excited because we were looking for mammals and mammals were their thing. So was it really the case that this was a much more of a kind of team effort and people really into it than it would be on a typical birding trip, do you think?
100%. I've been leading these tours for years, and I've seen the guys what they do with the birding groups. But in this case, everybody was involved. Everybody was excited. They were all so happy when we found things, and looking at them, and if they found it or we did, we were all together looking at the things, and use my beams, try the thermoscope, look at that. Yeah, is this a species? Is the other one? They were just telling us the local names, and that was super exciting. That was super cool experience, I have to say. Yeah, much cooler than going birding with them.
You get great guides and 1 or 2, but there was, that was the whole community out helping us, and they were all so excited every time they found something. And I think we, largely because of the way you planned it with them, Carlos, the way we all worked as a team, I think was great. I mean, the mammal watchers walking with our thermals, but then we were flanked on either side by some of the locals with lights. And then, of course, during the day, they were running up and down the mountain looking for things for us. And yeah, it was a real team effort, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And they were so pleased with us visiting all the settlement and with us looking for mammals. So yeah, I mean, I only have good words for this.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful for you guys, and sharing this experience with you has been one of the best things I've done in my life, really. And I think guys forget this easily, really.
No, I won't.
Yeah, I don't think any of us will. What was fascinating to me, though, Carlos, was you were dead certain, guys, we're going to see loads and loads of mammals. And even once we're in Mupi Gunung, I still had this skepticism. I still thought, how are we actually going to see these things? But we finished our first evening meal and we went out and we started seeing animals right away. I mean, I think, John, you found a sugar glider before we even left the camp, didn't you? And
that's right.
And after that, it was every 10, 15 minutes, we would see a new species. I mean, that certainly rivals, if not better, some of the mammal watching that I've done in Africa or African forests.
Yeah, it was very impressive. Yeah, I mean, since the very beginning, after the first dinner, when John said, "Hey guys, I have something," I couldn't believe it. Like, no, John has to be wrong. I mean, we're just here, out of the cabin. No, it's impossible. And then we walk there, and we have this Krebs glider, just just sitting quietly on that branch. I mean, that was unbelievable. Really, that was unbelievable. after that, well, you carry on. You carry on because I go emotional. Yeah, really, really.
So do I.
Yeah. It was it was both diversity certainly, but it was the density. I mean, we saw lots of every species, and the other thing was that we saw them really well. And just to explain a little bit how we did it, we had 5 people with thermal imagers walking along and just scanning. So you stop, scan, walk, stop, scan, walk, stop, scan. And then when we saw something, through the thermal, we were then trying to get the torch on it and then take photos. And most of the animals would actually stay still, even little rodents that normally you'd expect to run away quite quickly. And perhaps it's because many of them are arboreal, so they would sit quite still. And so we ended up getting photos of, I think, pretty much 90% of the mammals that we saw, didn't we?
More, I think. There was only really 2 species we didn't photograph out of 40, 45 or something. That's amazing. Yeah, really.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about the tree kangaroos, because that was astonishing.
That was really good. I have all the crew working with us, trying to locate these tree kangaroos in those very steep slopes, all spread around, but all connected by whistling or different ways of communication. Yeah, and all these things like no, that kind of bark, that dog barking. No, that's not the tree kangaroo. That's rooster deer. Or no, that barking means wild boar. Or, oh yeah, that's the kind of barking that the dogs do when it's tree kangaroo. Yeah, so let's go there. Yeah, the guys found the tree kangaroo. Something. Oh my god, yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Oh. And the first one, they found us a Vogelkopf tree kangaroo, and it was sitting in camp, and it's all quiet, and everyone's just going about their business, and all of a sudden you hear this yodeling from across the hills, and like all hell broke loose in camp. Everyone starts yodeling back and running around, etc. So everyone got incredibly excited. And then we walked for about 45 minutes up a hill. Of course, everything's either up or down over there. And then we just saw these simply fantastic tree kangaroos. So it was a mother and a sort of sub-adult, and we watched them for about 15, 20 minutes, didn't we?
At least, yeah. They didn't seem too worried. Some of the locals, some of the villagers were trying a bit too enthusiastically to get us better views, and when they started shaking the tree and chopping things down, we're like, no, it's okay, guys. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, they obviously have a very different relationship with wildlife than tourists do. But
right.
The sheer number of things up there, I mean, there can't be much hunting, because things were, as you said, everything we saw was pretty, apart from the ground cuscus, was pretty relaxed in the trees. And the tree kangaroos we found on our own later, they just sat and stared. They didn't seem at all worried. And you think if there was hunting, they'd have done something. But they, yeah, it's an extraordinary place.
We ended walking away from most of it.
Yeah, that's right.
And say very often, we ended walking away from tree kangaroos. We ended walking away from Echidna. Once we were like soaked in views, after get all the views and the cripples possible, we just say, okay, guys, we had enough. Yeah, let's leave these guys alone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think in the end, we ended up seeing in Mupi Gunung, we ended up seeing, I think it was 8 different tree kangaroos, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, from 2 species. Yeah,
two species, 8 different. I mean, that's remarkable. I mean, frankly, it's given how rare and hard these animals are to see, it just goes to show just how wonderful that forest is.
From a mama watcher's perspective, it's the place you have to visit.
Yeah.
Any other place in the Arfax wouldn't be as good as that one. because the density and the diversity of mammals will not be the same.
We should talk a little bit about the ground couscous, because I have to admit that just shocked all of us. John, do you want to tell the story of what happened there?
Well, I'll tell it, and then maybe someone else can finish it. Yeah, so the ground couscous is like a large possum, basically, and it's arboreal mammals. And there's one called the ground couscous, which spends its time on the ground more often than most of the others. And it was one we all wanted to see. And most places, again, they're quite large and they're on the ground, so they're probably heavily hunted. And maybe our second night was it? We get a shout from one of the guys, the villagers who's got a torch. They've got something, and we go rushing over, and there up a tall tree is a ground couscous staring at us. And then I'm not really sure what happened. Were they kind of tapping the tree, or just because
I think someone just pushed on the tree gently,
And then all of a sudden, we just saw this couscous launch itself off and just parachute like spread eagle to the ground, and there was a thump when it hit the ground, and I was like, oh no, the poor thing, what have we done? And then, do you want to continue, Charles and Carlos?
And the couscous just takes off running. It was astonishing, and the guides try to catch it, right, and they're right on top of it, and they had no chance. This couscous outran them and went and hid, and here were all of us. I think because the noise it made on hitting the ground was so loud.
Yeah,
I think we were all convinced that the animal had died. But clearly, this is an anti-predator response, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna dive off the top of this tree and hope for the best.
It was like a sack of potatoes out of the 10th floor window. It felt like a smash, but apparently it didn't do any harm. Yeah.
No. And Carlos, I'm assuming, because I've looked online to see if I could find anything about this behavior, and haven't in couscouses, and I haven't read anything. But I'm assuming it's probably a strategy against the large birds of prey, which is what you get the New Guinean harpy eagle up there, wouldn't you?
I think so too, and I think it's a very unique behavior amongst couscouses, because that's the only one I've seen doing something like that. That's the only one. Anyway, that was shocking, really. That was shocking.
Have you seen those before, Carlos, ground couscouses? I can't remember.
I've seen ground couscouses in both trees and on the ground, but I've never seen that behavior before, and it was super, super cool. The animal, after touch the ground, was running super fast. Like I couldn't imagine these animals were that fast on the ground, really.
Moving on from the Arfak Mountains, we then went on to Sorong and out the east of Sorong, and that's when we saw what for me was the mammal of the trip, right? The long-beaked echidna, which that will definitely stay with me for a very long time. That sighting was just so incredible, wasn't it?
Yes,
it was.
And this is one again that possibly it was the rarest thing we saw on the trip, the rarest large mammal, and it was certainly the weirdest. But this is, really where Carlos's network and his ability to sort of work so closely with the people of Papua really came into play, because some of you might remember there was a report about a year ago of a British guy who saw a long-beaked echidna in a place called Malagafuk, where we were going as a kind of well-known birding destination. And while we were all going, I saw that report, and first of all, I was like, oh, this should have been us. If it wasn't for COVID, we'd have seen this one. And I was a bit despondent, but at the same time as well, they're there. We've got to get there as soon as we can. And then a few months before our trip was leaving, Carlos gets word from his friends in Sorong that there's no more, they're not seeing the echidnas anymore in Malagafuk. So this was, for you, Carlos, it was your most wanted mammal as well, wasn't it? So it was. You get the word out that you want to see an echidna, and your friends are busy scouting around, and how long did it take them to find the place we saw at that village?
Few months, and then scouting the place by themselves. um, double checking, cross checking again. Okay, the echidna still there. Okay, they aren't moving much there in this slope of the mountain. Yeah. It was quite something. Yeah, it was quite something. It's the same about Malagufuk, right? I mean, because this guy that you mentioned, he had amazing views there, but sadly the kidnas aren't there anymore. I mean, we went there for a few nights, and we were all over the place, walking for hours to end at night, and we never got a glimpse of one. Why? It's not something you can get a glimpse of one. Yeah, either you see one as long as you want, or you didn't see the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kidneys apparently aren't there anymore, sadly.
Yeah. But this community that you took us to, what was great about it was that they were extremely excited again to welcome us there, because we were the first foreigners to have ever stayed at the village, and there was a wonderful reception when we arrived, and it's like one of the prominent leaders of the village, she was all dressed up, and she put gave you a scarf, Carlos, and we got to plant some trees.
That was super cool.
It really was. Obviously this was a really big event for the community, and basically we got unpacked and ate some dinner, and then walked out after it got dark, and there was practically every adult male and every child in the village were there just waiting for us. And then they took off, and they were determined to find us an echidna. This was, they wanted to put their village on the map.
That was all about, yeah.
So literally put it on the map, because it really it isn't on any maps. But sorry, Carlos.
Can you imagine how exciting is people from a completely different tribe coming to your village? Because we belong to a completely different tribe. I mean, to a tribe that doesn't belong to that island, doesn't belong to the part of the world. So for them, and for them understanding, they had to oblige. I mean, we wanted to see the echidna, and they were all on it, all of them. I mean, I think that's the reason of our success, because we were all together looking for this animal, and when they finally found it for us, it was like the biggest party ever. I mean,
yeah, it took 4 hours, and then again we were just sitting there. And the irony, Carlos, was you had just finished saying, it seems as though the echidna is not playing ball tonight. And right after you said that, we heard the yodeling starting.
Yeah.
And puts us like hair up on the back of your neck. And then so we walked over, and it wasn't too far, was it? It was about 20 minutes. And then did we just see this most astonishing animal? I think it's probably the most astonishing creature I've ever seen.
Those feet. It was, I think you said in your report, Charles, the post you did on Facebook, you didn't know which end you were looking at, because its only kind of defense mechanism is to push its beak into the soil and hide its head and hope we'd all go away. And so when it's doing that, it's very difficult to know what's the front and what's the back. And then when it puts its head up and there's that kiwi-like trunk coming up, wiggling at us, and those dinosaur feet, and oh, what a creature. Absolutely wonderful thing.
Pretty big. I mean, the size of a small dog, really. And then it just waddles along. It didn't really seem particularly concerned, did it?
Totally unconcerned, really, totally unconcerned. A few meters away, something like that. Of course, yeah. That animal, yeah. 1 in a million, really, 1 in a million.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that the night didn't stop there, because to continue, we had this long-fingered trio that was eluding us for days and days in the artifacts, after checking I don't know how many striped possums. And then this guy suddenly says, Carlos, I have a squirrel here. Okay, let me see. Let me see this squirrel. And then I see this finger sticking out of his hand. I mean, like, no, this is not possible.
Right.
This is not happening. I mean, like, let me double check again. Yeah, guys, look at this.
Yeah, I mean, partly, Carlos, that was also because we didn't think it occurred there. According to the maps, it should not have been in that area.
I had no idea. I had no idea. Really.
Right, and that was a sort of a recurring theme throughout the trip. Of there were quite a few mammal species that we found, which, according to the maps, should not have been there. But the treoc, you're right. I mean, this thing, that finger is astonishing. It must be convergent evolution with an eye.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, it's an amazing looking animal.
I still have no idea how they caught that, because this is a squirrel size, but it's a possum. It's fast. It's arboreal, and somehow this guy grabbed it by hand in the dark. It was very mysterious. No one could really explain how he caught it, but it was a fabulous thing.
Because it was really dark in that forest. It wasn't so much moonlight coming through anything. So yeah, no, that was genius. However, he did that.
No. These guys are outstanding. Yeah, I mean, the knowledge they have about the forest and the animals that live in, it's outstanding. And we all saw it. Yeah, I mean, I haven't been looking for mammals with anyone like them in our very limited understanding. All we can say is, oh yeah, this animal shouldn't be here. This altitudinal range doesn't really match with the published information and so on. Yeah, I mean, the knowledge is that little. I mean, this wasn't usual mama watching tour. I think it was more like scientific expedition, something like that, with every single member of the trip working all together to produce the very best result. And in my opinion, it was super successful.
Yeah,
it was super successful.
And I think what was interesting about this is that the method that we used of having a core group of people using thermal images and then being flanked by people spotlighting was remarkably successful at finding mammals. And frankly, this could become a recognized survey method. If people want to conduct a survey of nocturnal mammals in forest areas, this is probably a really good way of going about it, because clearly we were finding the things, and we were then able to get photographs of the animals. And I can see people starting to use this method to census animal populations in the future.
I fully agree. I fully agree with you guys.
It's what we did in Gabon. That was also another pretty successful trip in terms of the amount of stuff we saw and photographed, but it was exactly the same pace and number of thermal scopes and cooperation among the group. And, I think also, I've said it before, but getting good photos is so much easier now than it used to be, because cameras are so much better. But so important, because even big stuff, I was misidentifying things. We all thought we'd seen a spotted cuscus until we started looking at the pictures when we got home, and we realized it was actually a northern cuscus with spots. And so even the big stuff is extremely easy to go wrong, and it's so having those pictures to reflect on is so important. But now it's also relatively easy, and having a few people with cameras working together, and also the fact we were all we all got along so well. We were so cooperative. There was no one trying to get good views and get ahead, or everyone was really helping everyone else get onto everything, which I really appreciated because often I couldn't. So Charles was always helping me with his laser pointer. So I think the whole thing worked like a dream from that respect.
Yeah, I think that's we got into a rhythm in the end, didn't we? Where certain people would hold the torch, other people would get the laser pointer, other people would get the camera for rapid identification, do just a few shots first, and then we could all sort of take photos. So we got into a good rhythm, and it was obviously incredibly successful.
Yeah, Venkat would usually walk up front, find things first, and then shout, "Light, please!" Very demanding, but it worked. We weren't going to complain because he was spotting everything, but he's bossy.
Right? Yes, absolutely. But the thing is, he kept on going. He didn't flag as well, so we'd be trudging back down. After like 6 hours being out, and Venkat's still going like like an automaton.
Stop it! I want to go to bed.
And this Venkat is gold. Yeah, really, he's gold.
Absolutely. And then after one night in the small community, we went to Malagufuk, which is I think, as you said, Charles, and you'll know, it's one of the most well manicured villages I've ever seen in the tropics. It was after a 3-kilometer boardwalk that could also be a bobsled run when it's raining. We come to this village and all the grass is mown, and there's this little community of sort of guest houses and people, and they're well used to birders visiting. And then we had, was it 5 nights we had there?
I think so. Yeah, 5 nights.
And again, super nice community who couldn't have done more for us. And good forest, lots of mammals at night, decent trails as well as a boardwalk, which was slippery, but was very, when it was dry, it was perfect for looking for things. And we saw a ton of good stuff there as well. And do you want to talk about the hopping mice? Because that was one of my favorite experiences there.
So it was mine, really. So it was mine. It's funny, yeah, because I had a word with this about with Venkat a few months back, and I told him, you know what? I think I saw one animal that actually matches with I don't know, something very jumpy, something that jumps like crazy, but I cannot really find any species that matches with this behavior, aside of this New Guinea jumping mouse that isn't supposed to occur in this part of the island. So yeah, I don't know. I probably got it wrong, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah, the night of you don't see the stuff as well as at daytime, because we are not nocturnal animals, humans, and you've been walking for hours. You are tired. You can mix up things easier than when you are fresh in broad daylight, something like that. But when we saw this thing running along the boardwalk, along the veranda, it was like, what is this? Okay, what is this? What is this? We have to catch it. We have to catch it. We really have to see this thing, because I have no idea what is this. It was running like, I don't know. How do you describe it, really? Charles or John, how do you describe it? Because it was running in a very particular way.
Yeah, it was like shuffling, like an insect.
Yeah,
it was like
the stuck on almost.
Yeah, like the belly sort of didn't raise up and down. It was just the feet would just sort of move rapidly sort of forward. It was very strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like a soldier doing a commando crawl across enemy lines almost. But,
right.
So this mouse, this animal, I think we thought at the time it was a pygmy possum, was running up and down the banister, and got confused by the lights. And then one of the villagers there grabbed it, and lo and behold, it was a mouse, a very strange looking mouse.
Yeah. And it was so funny, yeah, because this Venkat was almost instantly said, "Oh yeah, this has to be this New Guinea jumping mouse," and it was actually it's the only thing that actually matches with the description of the animal we got. Really, I mean, totally out of its range.
Yeah,
and it wasn't jumping. That was the other thing. It was like the name was. It's called the jumping mouse, and this one wasn't jumping. It was just doing that weird kind of shuffling run up and down the boardwalk. But those huge whiskers it had, I've never seen whiskers like it. Fabulous thing.
Yeah, it was absolutely fabulous. And this was, I believe, the first record for Indonesia. Isn't that right?
I'm still double checking this with some museums, and but it was probably the first record from the Indonesian part of New Guinea, because even the distribution map gives a small part of the range inside within the West Papua borders. I don't know about any other record inside the Indonesian part, like proper documented record or specimens or anything. Yeah, because I've been checking, and I couldn't find it so far. Yeah, they might be there somewhere, but I couldn't find it yet.
And as I said earlier, we had several records like that. There was also a Kerivula, one of the small bats.
Oh, which, that's gripping. Don't mention that. Don't mention that. Okay.
Sorry, Carlos.
That would be a lifer for me, and I didn't see it.
I know.
And you even got very beautiful pictures of one night roosting, perched on that twig. I mean, when I saw the pictures, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, that was sweet, really. I'm very jealous about that. Yeah.
Well, that's one, again, without a thermal scope, we'd never have seen that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It would have been impossible to have spotted without that heat scope.
Yeah.
So after Malaga Foot, we were, it was a wonderful forest, but it wasn't the easiest place to stay. It was super humid. I think all of us were completely over the food or lack of diversity of food by the end of it. And so we spent the last couple of nights on Waigo Island in Raja Ampat, which is, paradise in comparison to the places we'd stayed in terms of accommodation. There was cold beer, there was good food, there was hot showers and lovely rooms. And, I think, again, another inspired bit of planning by Carlos to finish the trip there. I pity the poor people who go to Waigo halfway through and get a taste of luxury and then get plunged back into the jungle of Papua before they go home. So absolutely the right place to finish. It was difficult to motivate ourselves to do very much other than sit on the beach and watch the sea and have a beer. But luckily we didn't really need to, because the spotted couscous was the main game there, and that was all around the hotel. So that was the end of a fantastic 2 weeks, tough 2 weeks, but absolutely remarkable, wasn't it? And again, Carlos, I can't say thank you enough. It's largely because of your planning and your ability to get along with people and to work with the Papuans as a friend. And they were so enthusiastic, like you said. And I don't think they would have been for most people. It's because they all clearly like you very much.
I know, and I thank you for coming, because this is way off the beaten track. I think it's not easy go and do this kind of trips, in unknown places where you don't know what you can expect or something like that. Because nobody else have done this trip before. You guys are the very first mama watchers doing this trip, this itinerary. So yeah, I'm talking with you guys that you are so experienced. You've been to so many places looking for these animals. So and you have so many places to go. So yeah, I think I only can be grateful. Because you came here after hearing so many rumors and stories about how difficult and hard are animals in not only in West Papua, but also in PNG, which is actually funny, because our friends like Janus, for example, now he's doing this PNG birding trip, and he keeps on finding great mammals almost every night. So yeah, I think this is something we got grown time ago. Yeah, like mammals are not that impossible in New Guinea, because the number of mammals we recorded was incredible, really. I mean, beyond my expectations, beyond my wildest expectations. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we had an original list of 70 potential species that we might see, and I don't know the exact number that we're at, but it's over 60 of those that we saw, which frankly was remarkable, and we saw them well, and I think it's really the fact that you put us in the right places, and you knew that we had to go out at night and we had to use thermals, and once we had that combination, as well as a fairly experienced team of looking for things, wow, it just opened up a whole new world. All of a sudden, the world of mammals on the New Guinea Peninsula just opened up to us, and that was remarkable.
Absolutely agree. New Guinea is a fantastic destination for mammal lovers. It hosts an incredible array of extremely interesting species, ranging from tree kangaroos to dorcopses to long-beaked echidnas, short-beaked echidnas, squalls, dasyurs. I mean, you name it, really, pick your poison, because, whatever you want, you have it here. And I don't think it's that difficult, especially after seeing how successful was our trip. So I hope this is opening a new way. I hope other people is following our footsteps, and trying new places, just like we do with birds, because there is so much ground to cover. And there is so much to learn about all these animals. This is one of the last frontiers of mammal watching on Earth.
And so much potential to help with conservation. That's something Charles is, was talking about a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is a whole world to do about mammal conservation in West Papua, and probably in the whole island. Even if there are more projects in PNG than the ones we have in the western part, like, I don't know, this Tenkile project, or the Huon tree kangaroo project, or Madang research station. But there is so much to do.
What's interesting about this is the birders really sort of set the scene. They started going to West Papua, which, let's face it, so 20 years ago was really difficult to get into the country. You had to get permits, and they frequently wouldn't give them. And then they started going to mostly to find the birds of paradise. And then the local communities realized that they could make some revenue from showing sort of foreigners these birds that lived on their land. And I think that more and more communities are now opening up their land for birders to go and see it. And I think we're hoping that this will do the same on the mammal front, and that the communities, instead of seeing mammals as just something that you can eat, will start seeing the potential for them providing some sustainable revenue from tourists coming to see them. And if that's the case, then they will hopefully protect the animals on their land.
No, absolutely agree, Chelsea. Really, I think this is opening a new world. Well, just like Juliana. I mean, like Juliana was fascinated, with all the potential that these places have, and keen to send students. And I think a lot of people might be keen to invest in conservation in this part of the world, because the potential has no limits, really. The potential has no limits. Like you said at the beginning, like the number of animals we were seeing in some of the parts of the artifacts, like Mupigunum, was just unheard. I mean, I remember John saying that that place might be even better than some tropical forest stretches of Queensland. I mean, in terms of density and diversity, I mean, it was outstanding, really, truly outstanding. So yeah, I'm hoping we can do something else after this, really, especially involving conservation, because we have to protect these places, right?
Indeed, and I think that, look, West Papua is not for everyone. It's very remote, so it's difficult to get to, and in many of the areas it involves a fair amount of climbing, steep slopes, etc. But even when we were there and you guys were posting on social media some of the animals you saw, there was tremendous interest in people who wanted to come and try and find the animals themselves. So hopefully, if this can kickstart a nascent mammal watching tourism on the island, that could act as an extremely effective conservation tool, because the communities, it'll be in their best interests to protect the animals on their land.
I think so too, yeah. I think so too, because so far the mammals have been neglected in all these birding places, because they know the visitors are only coming for birds. But if they realize that there is people visiting for mammals, they might start to protect them as well, just like they do with the birds of paradise. So I think that's quite a point, yeah.
If our trip helps advance that in any small way, and I really think it will, given the interest that's already been expressed, and that would be, I really felt it was a contribution we made to not just to the adventure, but to the science, but also to the protection of those wonderful places. So thank you again, Carlos, for bringing this all together. Thank you, Charles, for being such great company. And it was great to reminisce. Trip report might be online by the time this goes live. I hope so. And there'll be details there, as much as we can share, on how best to follow in our footsteps. And I hope some people will. So thank you again, Carlos, for joining us. It's been great catching up.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah. And thank you, Carlos. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carlos.
You've been listening to Mammal Watching with Charles Foley and John Hall. You can find other episodes at mammalwatching.com/podcast.